Hello. Happy
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Some computer issues here in the Brown family household. I apologize. You would think I wasn't married to a computer expert. You took the dog on a walk, Eric, in his defense.
He's not allowed to do that during the time that you need him.
Seriously.
That's not in the husband contract.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your patience as we figured all this out. We're so glad you're here.
Happy Friday. Hope everyone is preparing for a nice weekend. We get an extra hour of sleep this weekend.
That's true.
That's true. Hopefully your center families will remember that.
Right.
I guess with cell phones, it makes it all easier to that your clock sort of automatically. No one really has alarm clocks anymore, so your phone,
right?
Your phone's everything. I remember there was years ago when I was teaching Hebrew school at Temple Israel in Hollywood. And I was 22 or 23 years old. There was one day I showed up for Sunday class, and I was there. I was the only one in the parking lot. I'm going, what the heck is going on? Where is everybody? So yeah, that was before the days.
Yeah.
I think my car even resets manually. So
right. And the good thing is everyone's already at their house. No one has to get to the temple this year, or you're either online early or we'll catch you an hour later.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll tell Charmaine to be on earlier to she's up early anyway.
Right. Well, if anyone
people have joined us today
now, please feel free to say hello in the comments so that we can greet you by name. We're so glad that you are here.
Who's on?
I'm realizing, Eric, right now it seems like on Zoom we're seeing one of us at a time, which is, I know is not the normal way we look on this program. So I'm trying to figure out a way that we can both be on display at the same time, which is the normal way our viewers see us.
All right.
At least we're online, which is good.
Right, not like a couple weeks ago where it was the stream through my Facebook page. So.
So Eric, I know it's been it's always a busy week at Temple Israel, but this week is no exception. And tonight we're looking forward to a lot of fun things as well.
And for those of you who have gotten the emails and seen the plan for tonight, we have we're actually doing our traditional service a little early this week to be respectful for those families who need to say Kaddish and want a more traditional service experience. But then at 6 o'clock, we are offering a new tableside Shabbat, which is, the hope is that people will bring their computers, their laptops, their iPads, their phones to their Shabbat tables for dinner, and we can all celebrate Shabbat dinner together with the Shabbat prayers and some music and everything else. And so I know we're excited about trying to make that happen. Hopefully we'll be more tech savvy by this evening.
I hope so. I hope so. Eric, Bobby Horowitz is here, Vice President of Education. Hi, Bobby. My mom, Susie, is here. Hi there. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Susie. And Bobby. Busy week, though.
I see that my husband is actually watching the show. Oh, now it looks like it's displayed correctly, which is good. He's out. He wasn't here for my tech support, but now it looks like it's displaying correctly. So I think it can only go up from here, Eric. It's all great.
and just let Adam know we haven't talked very badly about him for our show. So
yes.
Good.
This past week, Eric, we had a couple of really great JJL programs. We had a program in partnership with Sharsheret, the Jewish women's breast cancer and ovarian cancer support and education organization. It was really so educational, and the panelists were outstanding. And then on Wednesday night, we had our Temple Israel Reads One Book program, which was supposed to take place last spring with the author of Memento Park. His name is Mark Sarvis, and we had a lot of people in attendance of that program. And Mark was just an outstanding speaker and really gave us some great insights into the book and the writing process. And yeah, it was a really special evening.
It's so great that he was willing to come on and do it online, and that and if anything, it gave people more a chance to read the book, right? They had an extra few months, and he had an extra few months of us advertising it. So hopefully that just added added some support, and added more people being allowed to come on the call and enjoy what we had to say. So.
Yeah, no, it was really great. And I think people enjoyed the evening. And as I said at the end of the program, I just love when our congregants talk about books. It's just so fascinating to hear people's different perspectives and interpretations. And then to be able to share this with the author himself was really special.
Do you have the next book lined up?
I think we are actually going to take the 2020-2021 year off from the TI Reads One Book program, and we'll bring it back next fall. So if anyone's reading anything great this year and wants to make a recommendation to the committee, please let us know.
Maybe we'll do Temple Israel Reads One Poem or something.
That sounds easy. That sounds short. Temple Israel watches one episode of
Friends. Temple, of Seinfeld. We could just do Temple Israel blanks one, watches one, reads one of whatever. And we could just, it could be a whole series of programming the rest of the year,
Sounds like fun. And our November JJL email went out. Did it go out today? And I'm not sure if it's going out.
It's going to go out Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. So take a look keep on the lookout for that email. Lists all of the great programs we have for our adult learners for the month of November.
And then I know for our show next week, we have another guest lined up. We have Linda Kiles, who's gonna be joining us, which would be good. And I think most of our last few guests have been recommendations from our viewers. So keep those recommendations coming. We love to hear them, and we love to reach out to those people and let them know that we want to interview them and have them on the show. So
maybe there's somebody in the congregation that you're like, I've always seen that person, but I've been curious about him or her, but I don't know very much. Let us know, and we'll be happy to reach out. And then we're going to take a couple weeks off, I think, after next week. And then we'll be back in December.
There's a holiday. There's a community.
Right. We have a holiday program on November 20th, I think it is. I think that's the right date. So we won't be doing Anything Goes that day, and then we go into Thanksgiving week. So we'll be back. We will definitely be here next week, and then we'll take 2 weeks off and be back in December.
All right.
Yeah.
Surprised that you weren't wearing your Dodger blue, also, Sharon.
True. I am. Eric, I have never spent so much time watching baseball. It's been quite a number of weeks. This week has felt kind of empty without hours of baseball at nighttime.
We had the celebration, and then there's the lull after we were so emotionally high and brought up.
Yeah. Now I got to get my hat. My World Series champions hat.
All right. I'm sure there's other gear that you'll have as well. You'll be for the future episodes.
Yeah.
Well, we started a little late today because we had some technical difficulties, and we have a guest in the waiting room who I know everyone's probably looking forward to hear from. I know I'm looking forward to talking with her. She has really a fascinating background. And should we bring Amber in?
Bring her in.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Amber. Welcome to Anything Goes. We're so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thanks for your patience as we worked out all the little glitches that keep live programming so exciting. But we talked before we got on you have a little bit of TV background as well. So you know what happens, right?
Anything goes on live TV.
Any-
This is true.
I think we've definitely made that clear to our watchers, our viewers, that anything can happen on any given week, and we're just going to go with it. So I'm going to let everybody know at home know a little bit about you. I'm going to so here is our introduction for Amber Vera Mendoza. Amber was born and raised in Mexico City by her parents, who were Americans living abroad. At the age of 12, they moved to Southern California, where her father's family was from. After completing her master's in social work with an emphasis in macro work, I'll figure out what that is, and community strengthening, Amber developed a greater passion for civil rights, anti-bias education, and diversity training. Upon graduating, she worked for the California Conference for Equity and Justice, the CCEJ, which is formerly known as the NCCJ, as the Community Program Specialist. And during that time, she co-coordinated the City of Long Beach Office of the City Manager Human Dignity Program and other program-oriented initiatives. Her passion for this type of work has continued to grow throughout her career. She's worked as a mental health and counseling program supervisor for the Gay and Lesbian Center of Long Beach, as the program director for Imagine LA, a mentorship program for families exiting homelessness, as a team lead for the Heart of America Foundation, Redesigned Spaces, as MSW field supervisor for graduate interns in CCEJ, and is currently a trainer for the Anti-Defamation League, a World of Difference Institute. She remains an active volunteer in the community as a board member of the JCC, chair of the JCC Cares at the JCC, PTA board member, school site council member, and co-chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Committee. She's lived in Long Beach for 15 years with her husband, Alejandro, and two young daughters, Gabriela and Victoria. Both of their daughters attended the ECE program at the JCC and are currently enrolled in Torah Center and attend Patrick Henry Dual Immersion Elementary School. They've been members of Temple Israel, so our direct community since 2014. Welcome.
Hey, and somehow has time for anything goes as well.
Yeah, amazing.
It is amazing.
I'm always of service.
We're just waiting for the kids to bust into the door. And,
Oh no, I locked it. just for like 45 minutes.
hopefully, because we started late, it doesn't. Hopefully, the cookies or chips or whatever hasn't run out. And
It's crackers, totally healthy.
all right, goldfish, we're set, ready.
Goldfish.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm no longer saying day by day. It's now hour by hour at this point. So today's a little challenging, but we're doing all right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how this pandemic time period has affected you and your family, perhaps a little bit about your work as well.
So I know the date by heart. March 13th was the day the shutdown happened for us. It was Friday the 13th, so I'll never forget that. It really has affected us a lot because a couple of reasons. One, my husband is a police officer, so he's a first responder, so he's out in the community a lot. So we've been very diligent about the whole disinfecting and making sure that he doesn't bring anything into the household. The reason for that is that my youngest, Victoria, is at risk. She has asthma and has been hospitalized for pneumonia and has other bronchial type of issues. And so we've been very diligent and strict about where we go. We really haven't gone anywhere. If my mother-in-law has come over, but we're outside 6 feet apart, masks on. The girls know that they can't hug grandma. And so it's been challenging. We did not know how long this was gonna go on till. Fortunately, I am bilingual because I was born and raised outside of the country. Spanish is my first language. So that's a benefit for them that we decided to keep them home for distance learning the entire 2021 year. So I'm, mom and bilingual teacher, and I have about a million hats on. But we're, getting through it. I have a system now down of when my husband comes home, he takes care of everything in the garage, doesn't come in the house until he's completely, doesn't have uniform, all that kind of stuff on. So it's been definitely challenging with everything that happened the past, I don't even know what month we're in, month 5,629. It's day by day.
It does feel like that, right?
It definitely does. So it's the younger one sort of understands, the older one very much understands, misses her friends a lot more, and is struggling a little bit more with having that connection. But because Victoria, I'm very protective about her health, and because of what my husband does, I don't want to put anybody else at risk. So it's kind of touch and go. Every day is a new day.
Isolating. And,
it is very isolating. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to keep that social aspect in our kids' lives. And
Amber, I know you mentioned that that the girls are at Patrick Henry, and I'm familiar with that program, but some of our viewers may not be familiar with them. If you want to tell people a little bit about the dual immersion program there.
Definitely. So Patrick Henry is a dual immersion program at Long Beach Unified School District. They're the only dual immersion program to start at 90-10. So like when you come into kindergarten or TK, it's 90% full immersion Spanish and 10% English. And so as they move up in grades, the English and Spanish ratio equals out. So by the time they get to 5th grade, it's 50% English and 50% in Spanish. So it's 90% immersion from kindergarten. And so it's very intense. We do have a large portion of our students and families are not native Spanish speakers. And so they're English only speakers. And so that's been a very interesting perspective that I've heard from some of the families who are English only and dealing with this, with the distance learning, that now they don't understand Spanish.
Yeah,
and now they're in that position. So
it's impossible. I can't imagine.
It's challenging. And so I've always been the kind of person where people call me and ask, hey, do you know this or that? So I always end up being like the room parent or the communicate. Like I just always happen to be that person, which I'm totally fine with. I love communication and making sure everybody has the right information. So it's kind of a role flip for some people where and lesson learned of, imagine being an immigrant coming to this country and not knowing any of the language in English, and you're trying to learn it. Well, now they're in that position where the kids are completely immersed in Spanish and you don't understand what because the teacher will not talk to you in English,
right?
Only in Spanish. And so it is interesting to be in that program. I love that program. It's an amazing program, and I'm very grateful, and we're very lucky that we're in there.
Several years ago, I went to the Patrick Henry 8th grade graduation for a friend who was a friend and a congregant, and I was blown away. This was not a native Spanish speaking family. And this young man got up and gave his entire graduation speech in Spanish, along with, a bunch of other Caucasian kids who were, native English speakers. And it was so impressive. So yeah, I always love meeting families who have made that choice for their kids.
Yeah, Patrick Henry is now K-5. So we were K-8, now we're just K-5. Helen Keller Middle School has now taken that role. So now they're the continuation of any dual immersion program.
Okay. I know that. Interesting.
Yeah. Amber, you had mentioned in your bio, so you were born in Mexico. Your parents were Americans living abroad, and so how did that come about? And then curious, what was the transition like for you, having grown up in Mexico and then coming to Southern California as a 12-year-old, right? That must have been a challenging transition for you in that time of life as well. So can you give us a little sense of sort of background?
So my parents met here in California, and they decided to go watch the Summer Olympics in Mexico City. They were actually in the stadium when the track runners were raising their fist in protest for the Black Panther movement. So they were in the stadium when that actual historical event happened. They ended up falling in love with Mexico. My dad, just a background, my dad is Mexican but born here. My mom is white, born and raised in New York. So they met here, went down to Mexico City to see the Olympics, and then ended up staying 18 years.
Were they
So-
already married when they went there, or they got married
down there. Yeah,
Down
they got married down there. And I was born and raised down there in the 70s. I'm totally aging myself right now, which is fine.
You're in good
So-
company.
Yeah, we're in good. So definitely like the hippie era, right, was still very strong. And so they just winged it and went there. And I was born and raised there. To be totally honest, I was very privileged. We lived pretty much a middle high class kind of lifestyle. I went to private school where I was taught English and Spanish. So it was kind of the opposite, where it wasn't necessarily an immersion school, but they taught us pretty much 50-50 of Spanish and English. So I did know English coming back to the United States. So I didn't have that English as a second language kind of struggle, but it was definitely a shocker. I had come to the States obviously to see my grandparents and other family members, so it wasn't a complete odd or strange thing for me. But leaving your homeland, right, felt very hard. Leaving everything you know as a child, and not only just leaving like a neighborhood, but like a whole country. So that was definitely a struggle. We came back, or I came with my parents. We moved to West LA and lived there. And I've been kind of trickling down the coast from West LA, like Culver City, or down to like coming all the way down. And so I finally ended up here in Long Beach. But it's yeah, that's how I grew up. It was very magical down there. Every time when I do go down there to visit, it's just the only way I can describe it is I just feel home. The second the plane lands or the second we cross the border, my body just feels like I'm back home.
So do you still have friends down there?
I have some, honestly, through Facebook. It's probably the only way I could actually connect with some of them. But a lot of them actually moved up here to the States. A few of my parents' friends still live there. And so once in a while, I'll try to connect with them.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What an interesting journey.
Yeah.
A unique one for sure.
Yeah. My daughter, the girls have never been. I finally took my husband, Alejandro, after we're married, before kids, to do like the whole kind of tour of where I grew up and the things I did. And he was just kind of blown away because he'd never been immersed in Mexico City, just kind of quickly gone through. And the girls, I think, are old enough now, obviously not now.
Right.
Things get a lot better. We're definitely going to take them down there because they don't know where Mama grew up. They don't know where I was born. They asked me, did you have a park? Did you have this? And I didn't. I lived in an apartment. I never had a backyard. I never had what most kids or some kids grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
And where did your love for activism and social justice and fighting for people's rights, and where did that come from?
So initially,
other than your parents witnessing the Black Panther,
yes,
that came through their bloodline into you.
yes. So I've always been one to advocate for people that I cared for in any work that I did. I actually got a job working with children who were removed from the home, and they're in, it's called a residential treatment facility. So it's kind of like a foster care for children who cannot be in the home, and they were teenagers. And so that started me on the path on wanting to finally go finish. I've been working on my degree slowly but surely, and then finally decided to choose social work as my end all be, my goal for my degree. Had no idea I was going to go this way. I was dead set on working with youth. That's what I was good at. That's what I love doing. Went to my very first class at Cal State Long Beach in the School of Social Work, sat down, and my very first professor was the social policy professor. she completely rocked my world, which is what they're supposed to do in college, right? Is really, give you all sorts of perspectives. And that really just ignited my fire of, this is really what I want to do. So when you read the introduction, the macro part of it, so in social work, everybody thinks it's just very like, unfortunately, the stereotype is social workers are the ones that take babies away from families. That's just a stereotype that social workers have. But there's a lot of different components to social work. That's why I chose it. So for me, the direction of not one-on-one clinical work really spoke to me, but really the more advocacy, social justice, social policy side of it, that's what really ignited in me of, I can make a greater change and greater good for everybody if I can help with policy change, with just acknowledging the differences and inequities that we have in our system and what can we do to change that. So it started in my bachelor's. And so when I finished that and I got accepted back at Cal State Long Beach for the first time they had was called Advanced Standing. So it's their 1-year master's program. It was the very first time Cal State Long Beach offered that. I was in I call it the guinea pig group because the program looks way different now. It's so much better now, but we went through a 1-year master's program, and that was my main focus, was on social justice and social change kind of action things. So that's where that started, and I haven't stopped since.
That's wonderful. I know Eric said in your bio that you've had experience working with a number of organizations within Long Beach, some of which have a close relationship with Temple Israel. We have had a close working relationship with the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach, with the CCEJ organization. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your work with both of those organizations.
So after I graduated from with my master's from Cal State Long Beach, I went to work at CCEJ, and that was an amazing experience. I got to get to know a lot and learn so much from everybody that worked there. I worked with Jean Lenzner, obviously. It's funny when I hear that name, I already imagine a bunch of different memories that I remember of working with Jean. Anytime we sometimes knew when board members would come to the office, and so we knew to kind of tidy up and look a little bit better, or even if it was casual Fridays, we just kind of like put something nicer on, right? But Gene would just walk in and he just would just wave and keep on going. Like he just wanted us to do the work and do the best that we could, and was very encouraging. If anybody has gone to the any CCJ events where Gene would get up and start speaking, his pleas for funding, for fundraising, were always my favorite, of his different tactics on how he would ask, or what he would say to encourage people to get involved. It always gives me a warm feeling in my heart of remembering him, of how charismatic he was, and really ignite. And everybody knew when he got up, get ready, because he's going to ask, and everybody was ready for it. And so
he was such a great storyteller too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, his stories, anytime I'd go to a board meeting, I would just sit there and just want to listen to him, right? And even though he was short in stature, he was a huge presence. There was just no way around it. He just was an amazing, strong presence and role model for a lot of us. And so I really enjoyed and learned a lot from him.
He really was just a treasure for this community, and held the history of this community, really so many of its institutions, in his memory and his heart. He had his hands on so many of those formative organizations for our city.
Yeah, definitely. We'll miss him dearly. I went to work at the center after CCJ for a little while. They were transitioning from executive directors, and so they had asked me to come in to help with their graduate program, students to come in and do their counseling program. And so that was a bit challenging. Kind of midway through that program, the executive director ended up leaving and a new one came in, and the funding wasn't really there to keep me on, but I wasn't going to let the students have to move, because I know what that was like. And so I stayed on to ensure that they got everything that they needed so they could complete their graduate program and move on and get their degrees. So some of the staff are still there. I literally just talked to one of them yesterday, and yeah, love the center.
Yeah, they're doing some really critical work for our community. Yeah. Sure.
And you're very involved at the JCC also. There's the JCC Cares program. Was that it? Or
Yeah, so that started, I want to say it's been a year and a half now. It started about a year and a half ago. We wanted to, I know we have a good, strong senior volunteer program at inside the J, but we really wanted to bring that opportunity for any members of the JCC to do volunteer work outside the J, outside the walls. And so we put together a really great committee. Jay is on our committee, and Christine is on our committee, and I have a couple of community members on our committee, and we've done a lot of great work as far as for JCC Cares. One of the things I'm super duper proud of, two things actually. One of them is, if you haven't been to the JCC in a while, if you had any kids or grandkids that went through the ECE, because of JCC Cares, we now created a beautiful, amazing art pavilion in the back corner of the building that you never knew existed. And it's now this amazing, beautiful art area that's free for the kids to do a ton of different things. We did like little rock art and little baby garden, and we did an amazing, beautiful mural. The walls, I'm sorry, on the double doors of the building, for the kids to feel inspired to do artwork. And so Emily Gold is the director there now, and she's always posting on Instagram and Facebook of the kids doing art there, and that always just makes me happy because art is very important to me. And so that's one of the things that we did with JCC Cares. The other thing was we wanted to partner with an organization that helps put together meals for children who are food insecure. And so they have like this big, great program. We wanted to bring it to the J, but we just never could coordinate it at the right time. So a couple of us went and did the volunteer work at Cal State Long Beach. They hosted the event one time. It's called Generosity Feeds. And it was just amazing to be part of that and represent the J while doing it.
That sounds wonderful.
Sharon and I both have love for the JCC and the ECE. Our kids and all of Sharon's kids went through. My two kids have gone through the ECE program there, and so we spent many hours in those doors as well.
Mm-hmm.
ECE has been a great partner for the temple for the years as well.
Well, that's how actually I came.
Thanks. I haven't been there, I guess, since March.
Yeah, yeah. But you can still, if you go on Facebook, Instagram, Emily always puts pictures of that. So it's just awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice.
You had mentioned art, that you have a love for art. Is that sort of is it actually you making art, or is it an observance of art, and is that sort of one of your kind of passions that you like to develop?
So both. My dad's actually a graphic designer. He owned his own company in Mexico, one of the top graphic design companies in Mexico City the entire time he was there. And then when we came back, he started up his own company again. So he's been a graphic designer and an artist his entire life. My grandparents on my dad's side actually started a historical art theater group in Pomona called the Padua Hills Theater Group. So my grandparents and 3 other families built this theater literally by hand and created a huge art theater where they celebrated all things of our Mexican heritage. They did dances, and my grandfather played the guitar, it was just all about art and inspired and different aspects of that. My uncle actually was in a Disney movie with the 3 amigos, remember Donald Duck, and they travel around the world. When they get to Mexico and they have little kids dancing, my uncle's in that movie because of Padua Hills. So that's very dear to me, the idea of art and the joy and the benefit of art. My oldest, Gabriela, started playing the violin at 4. My youngest keeps going back and forth on what instrument she wants to do, but Victoria is definitely takes my side of the art. Victoria, my husband, now she is my little Frida Kahlo reincarnated. She has her mindset on what she wants, and I wish I should have just grabbed one of her art pieces. She's an amazing artist. For me, myself, I'm an amateur want to say amateur photographer. I've had a couple of pieces displayed at the Orange County Fair and gotten a ribbon for one of them. So I'm kind of proud about that. So that my art is more visual that I actually practice. But my daughters and my other family, everything from dance to paint and canvas and clay and you name it. My art center is, I mean, I have to declutter it. It's so full of things.
That's really nice. I knew that was one of my first projects for the pandemic, was going through all of our art supplies and organizing them. That was like my big first thing I did, bought all the plastic containers and labeled them all.
Yeah.
Got rid of a bunch of things that my kids weren't using anymore, but I love all the art supplies too. So I still have a lot of them.
Yeah. I have to hold myself back sometimes. Like, we have enough paint.
Well, and it's great that your family and you and the kids enjoy all of that, because, like you said, being home, and you need to find those things to do, and and to have a break from the screen time that the kids are on with school, to give them those opportunities for for the either the music or the painting or what have you. So
Yeah, it's important to us. I try to do something with them once a week. Play-Doh, coloring books, something to cut that screen time.
Right.
yeah.
It's really hard. I know. I've got 3 teenagers living in my house, or I guess my youngest is not really a teenager, but he acts like a teenager.
My
Is
7
Levi-
and
is-
8-year-old act like teenagers, so I'm a little scared.
Yeah, my daughter's 9, so it's the same. It's that wow. How old are you again? You're not acting like I thought you should be acting.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
The fun of parenthood.
Should have just a channel just on that, right? On parenting tips,
Exactly.
or what we're doing, so what works and what doesn't work and what I need help with.
Absolutely.
Amber, a lot of times we've been able to talk to our guests about some things that perhaps that they've discovered over these number of months. We've had more time at home. Any new interests that you've been able to develop, or any special, or any like movies or TV that you've discovered that you might want to share with our viewers?
I will very shamefully admit to watching Tiger King.
I watched it too. Yes.
Okay.
That was the beginning of the pandemic thing.
Right. Yeah. So, because I heard about it, so I'm shamefully, acknowledging that. My oldest, for some reason, wanted to learn to sew. And so I don't know how to do that. And so my mother-in-law said, I have one. And of course brought like this huge thing. I said, yeah, that's not going to work for 2 kids who are going to fight over this. So we ended up buying them like little kid-sized ones, and they have not stopped sewing.
Great.
So that's a new thing for them. And my husband has actually taken to it. So I'm all about exposing them to not gender role kind of specific things. So if dad wants to do all the sewing with them, I'm totally fine with that. Shows, the only ones that pop out are just very like not educational things. I mean, intertwined in that is all the political stuff, which is overwhelming all in itself. But like on HBO, they did a whole docuseries called The Vow, which was about he just got sentenced on Tuesday. That it was like a cult leader that was
Right, the co-leader who
Nexium, his I forget his name anyways. But I got into that kind of series just to get outside of this world. That's pretty much,
when your kids are when the pandemic is done, there is a great sewing clinic in Los Alamitos that's run by a mother and that my daughter has participated in. So I'll give you the information. And
awesome.
My daughter has ended up sewing jumpsuits and skirts and.
Yeah, the girls just figured out how to make little sleeping bags for their dolls and little pillows like that big. And they literally, my husband's like, well, we don't have stuffing. But my youngest was like, yeah, but we have cotton balls.
Right, cotton balls, toilet paper, whatever.
Yeah. So it's pillows and dolls and Barbie sleeping bags. That's, oh, and the pencil bags. That's I have a million. Does anybody want any?
But it's great that it keeps them busy. It keeps them
Right.
focused on something different. And
Do I start an Etsy page? Like, I don't know.
Maybe they could make some money.
Yeah, right. Like,
Sharon could talk to you about that too, like what her goal is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably a market. There's a whole Barbie market out there for Barbie sleeping bags.
yeah, I'll do some research. I'm all about researching and finding what's the need, right? What's the need out there?
Are there any?
I have organized though. Also, speaking of organizing, like my linen closets and the medical closets, like labeled and boxed. It's just, yeah, definitely. That's been one of my biggest things during this, is reorganizing and kind of. I think I've dropped off so much stuff to the Goodwill when they were able to receive, donations, like just truckloads. Get rid of it, just clean it out, make it better organized and more fluid.
I hear you. I hear you. I had a lot of enthusiasm for organizing at the beginning. It's tapered off some in the past couple of months, but it does feel good to get rid of stuff and pass it on to people who can use it better, more than you.
Yeah, I'm all about recycle, reuse, and repurpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do we have any comments from our viewers? Any questions for Amber?
People are just happy to get to know Amber. There was a little question earlier on about where you lived in Mexico, but you said in Mexico City. Did you have a chance to travel much when you were growing up in Mexico?
So Mexico City is like a big valley, right? It's in the bottom of a big valley. And so during the weekends, we would go to a city about an hour outside of Mexico City called Tepoztlan. And we would have like a rental home that we would go there every once in a while. And there's a town next to that called Cuernavaca also that we would go to as well. So those are my two kind of childhood weekend getaways that we would go to. We would go to the coastline, obviously. And I had I call them I don't know, just the way my family grew up, all of my parents' friends were uncle and aunt such and such, right? So I had an uncle who owned a very rustic getaway type of hotel, like literally like huts in Zihuatanejo on a peninsula. And he passed on last year. He's 89 years old. But he actually traveled and learned from Jacques Cousteau. And so he would always tell me stories, when I was little about all the adventures he would go on with Jacques Cousteau and scuba diving and how do you hold a spear and all these different things. So that was very cool. So I remember that's my first beach going to was in Zihuatanejo and then Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta, and all those kind of Pacific side of the country.
Yeah, a few years ago, my husband and I went to San Miguel de Allende, which is a few hours from Mexico City, I think. We had never been there. We'd only been to the coastline of Mexico, and we had an incredible trip there.
My aunt actually just moved. She had never lived there, but my dad's youngest sister, her and her husband literally got up and moved to Oaxaca like a year ago, just out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, so now I technically have family in Oaxaca.
Easy to go down there, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Well, if any of our viewers have any last questions for Amber, please put those in the comments so that we can get to those before we conclude our show. But Amber, what a joy to be able to speak with you this afternoon and get to know you a little bit better. Amber and her family, have been members of Temple for 6 years or so.
6 years now.
Yeah. But we haven't had a chance really to sit down and get to know each other so well. We're thrilled to have your daughters in the Torah Center now. They are so sweet and attentive and clearly, into being in Torah Center and into learning. So thank you for sharing them with us.
Yeah, definitely. They've been dying to do that. Their besties are there, and so that made it even easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great about our Torah Center. I know my kids look forward to no matter what the friends they have at regular school, their Torah Center friends are.
Yeah, they're besties. They grew up from the ECE, right? So that relationship has just continued on, and now that they have this weekly that they get to see their bestie, it just makes it all the better for them.
Great. So great.
Wow, no
You know,
question. I was ready
well-
for like the whole.
Well,
It's okay.
we have a busy night ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, and actually, I mean, I'm actually curious to talk maybe another time about your whole Jewish journey, because I mean, I know Mexico City has a large Jewish
Community.
community, and how Judaism fit into your life, and at what point, and
That's a whole other hour.
that's certainly like we don't have time for that tonight, but you know, I'm glad we were able to talk about the things that we did talk about.
Yeah.
We do typically end our interviews with a series of questions that were inspired by James Lipton. He used to have that show, The Actors Studio. So we kind of throw out some questions, just you answer whatever comes to your mind, and we'll go from there. So if you're ready, I'm ready, and we can. All right. So the first question from this list is, what is your favorite word?
Yes.
Nice.
What's your least favorite word?
Can't.
What sound or noise do you love?
My children's laughter.
Mm.
And then what sound or noise do you hate?
The word hate.
What profession? Thank you, Zuko. Zuko agreed. What profession other than the one that you do would you like to attempt?
Can I change the question a little?
It's your time. So make
Okay.
it happen.
If I could have a different profession, it would have been, oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna put myself out there. A backup dancer.
That's awesome. Like for
I've danced my whole life, but I never like got up to that level. And so to be a backup dancer for like Janet Jackson or
those people are awesome.
Justin Timberlake, oh my goodness.
We saw Madonna in concert last year, and her dancers are like no dancers I've ever seen before.
Yeah. So
you should talk to my wife. She says if she could be born if born again, she would be born as as an African American backup dancer. So
backup. That's why I changed it a little bit. So backup dancer. Because I can't do that now. I'm too old for that. But so.
That's nice. Okay, so then, what profession would you not like to do?
Wow. I think it'd be very hard for me to work with people who have violated children.
And the last question is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did the best you could, and I'm grateful for that.
And we're grateful that you joined us. It was really great, a great and informative and fun last hour, and we're so appreciative that you took the time out of your day and gave your kids some crackers and set them in a room and said, "Don't bother me for an hour."
Well, thank goodness my husband Alex came home, and I can hear him like entertaining them. So
Oh, good.
he gets bonus points.
I echo Eric's sentiments, and thank you, Amber, so much for joining us. I know that our viewers, our congregants, will very much enjoy watching this, if not now, later, when they scroll back on the show. And I would just encourage everyone that when you see Amber, when we finally return to Temple Israel, to go up and be in conversation with her directly, because she's a real treasure for our community. And Amber, thank you for all the work that you do on, for our entire Jewish community and beyond.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I was a little kind of shocked, but very honored that you asked, and so I appreciate it. And like I said a little earlier to you all before we started this, I'm pretty much an open book, so I'm happy to talk about anything people like to talk about. So thank you, I really appreciate it, and it's been a
Keep
pleasure.
up the great work, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. To all of our viewers, we want to remind everyone about this evening's program. We have Shabbat services, a modified Shabbat service at 5:15 this evening, followed by music by David York, our amazing pianist. And then at 6 o'clock, we will have our first Shabbat Around the Table program, which should be a lot of fun. Bring your device to your Shabbat table. We'll be doing some learning and singing and eating dinner together, all via Zoom. And we look forward to seeing you then. We will be actually doing some of it on Facebook Live as well, just not the eating part. So
The Zoom link is the same for both services. So just use the Friday Night Shabbat link for the early service, and that'll take you on through, or sign on later for the 6 o'clock tableside Shabbat.
And the last thing I want to say is if you haven't voted yet, get out there and vote, everyone.
Oh, wait, one more thing. Go Dodgers!
Go Dodgers! Good week for
Dodgers.
Good week for LA. So it's been a good year for LA sports.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks again. Fire.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Amber.
Bye. Thank
Have a
you
great
so much.
weekend.
Shabbat Shalom.